Mom, you're too kind. That's why Jenny got spoiled and can't do any cleaning or cooking properly. Get out now, you useless person. Unable to bear my mother-in-law's mistreatment any longer, I timidly brought up the topic of divorce. To my surprise, it was readily accepted. I've been wondering how long that jinx would stay in our house. Come on, Ryan, that's not nice. Calling Jenny a jinx to her face. Apparently, both of them had been calling me a jinx behind my back. My hands are trembling slightly. Right now, my parents' house is the only place I can rely on. I saw this coming. I'm ready. My mother's cryptic words make me tilt my head in confusion. It turns out my parents had been secretly making plans without telling me. I'm Jenny, 30 years old. I married Ryan, a senior colleague, 2 years ago. Lately, we've been discussing whether it's time to start thinking about having kids. There are more hospitals now that allow partners to be present during childbirth. Yeah, and it's a relief that the pandemic has calmed down. We got married during the middle of a global pandemic with flu-like symptoms. So, we didn't have a wedding ceremony, just registered our marriage. Alright, let's make a baby right away. My mom keeps nagging about when she'll get a grandkid. Aw. Your mom's really looking forward to it. She was so worried about the baby getting infected that she kept saying not to get pregnant yet. Our lives were quite restrictive due to quarantine measures to prevent the spread of the virus. But now that the restrictions have been lifted, I'm dealing with a new problem. You're late, Jenny. Where have you been wasting time? I came home from work to find my mother-in-law at our apartment. This unexpected situation started 3 months ago. My mother-in-law used to call me frequently. Since it was over the phone, I could just nod along while doing housework, as she couldn't see my face. I could understand her loneliness during self-isolation, so I couldn't completely ignore her. However, even those phone calls were a hassle, and now that the pandemic has settled down, her coming to our house is unbearable. She comes over 3 or 4 times a week and lets herself in while we're out. Oh, you're late again. Isn't it strange for a female employee to work until 8 p.m.? I'm suspicious about whether you were really working. Tonight, my mother-in-law was here again. I was working. Ryan was with me, you can ask him. Well, you're all talk. I never said you couldn't work. What I mean is, how can you be a housewife if you don't take care of the house? Without hesitation, my mother-in-law opens the fridge. She points to the pot of curry I made in the morning. Reheating cold food for your husband? That's unimaginable to me. Freshly made meals are the best. Didn't I tell you that before? As a life senior, my mother-in-law gives me countless pieces of advice. However, they're outdated and off the mark, making me wonder if we're still in the 1950s. Curry tastes better when it soaks in the flavors. Just one honest comment, and my mother-in-law let out an exaggerated sigh. Then the lecture began. That's not the point. What I'm saying is, it's a wife's duty to prepare a freshly cooked, warm meal for her husband who has been working all day. Don't you think a husband needs a delicious meal and a constantly smiling wife to feel motivated to work? Right, don't you agree? Ah, yes, that's right. Saying anything extra would just prolong the conversation. So, it's smarter to just agree and nod with, yes, yes, to everything. Store-bought deli food is unacceptable, and meal kits with pre-cut vegetables are criticized with the bizarre logic that cutting the vegetables yourself adds love. Even when I try to prepare food in advance in the morning, this is what I get. The fact that I also work doesn't fly. She declares that it's just natural for a wife to do these things. And my mother-in-law never helps with the housework, despite her endless advice. If she's so bothered by the dust or the cups left in the sink, she could help out, but she doesn't. Lately, our electricity bill and coffee consumption have increased. She's probably using the air conditioner freely and lounging around, nitpicking everything. I've become so exhausted that I asked Ryan for a favor. Can you ask your mom to return the spare key we gave her? We gave it to her in case of emergencies. Even when I tell Ryan how much his mother being here all the time bothers me, he doesn't quite get it. Do you hate my mom? It's not that. Don't worry about it. My mom's straightforward, so she's easy to get along with, right? She's not two-faced. Ryan wasn't a mama's boy initially. Even though his parents live nearby, he rarely visited them before we got married, and he never talked about them. He doesn't expect me to tolerate her because he loves her so much. He just naively thinks we should get along as women. Well, it's good that she's feeling better. Even after the world started moving again, she continued self-isolating for a while. She's more sensitive than she looks. If you don't want her at the house, why not go shopping or out to eat together? I find myself wishing we could go back to the restrictive self-isolation days. One day, my mom called me, which is rare. Apparently, my mother-in-law visited my parents' house. They were out, and my grandpa answered the door. "Oh, my son is in the fields. He should be back soon, so please have some coffee while you wait." "Huh? Here?" Oh, well. Despite her confident, unannounced visit, my mother-in-law seemed visibly unsettled. My parents came back home after being notified by my grandpa, and my mom said mother-in-law looked uneasy and somewhat irritated. It was the first time my mother-in-law met my parents. We didn't have a wedding, and the families only met remotely. My parents' house is about a 40-minute drive away, but because it's in another state, my overly cautious mother-in-law had been reluctant to visit. It seems that now she finally felt comfortable enough to visit, though she appeared nervous. She didn't stay long and left soon after. On the phone, my mom told me why my mother-in-law had visited. Apparently, it was because we wrote on our New Year's card, "Please drop by if you're ever in the area." So she decided to visit while she was nearby. I never thought anyone would take such a polite remark literally and visit unannounced. I still wonder about my mother-in-law's behavior. Did my parents or grandpa do something to upset her? To put it bluntly, she seems like quite a handful. Are you having any trouble, Jenny? Well, I'm managing for now. I'm not at my breaking point yet. I still hope to have a good relationship with my mother-in-law. The next Monday, my mother-in-law came to our house and, as usual, waited for me to return home. "Oh, you're late again today. What were you doing, neglecting your household duties?" I almost said, "It's work," but swallowed the words. "Oh, right, you were working." My mother-in-law finally acknowledged my job. I thought she had finally changed her view that a wife should be doing all the housework. She had seen me working late every night and then cooking dinner and tidying up the house. I felt relieved, thinking my efforts had finally been recognized. I tried to return her smile, but then I realized something was off. Poor people are always busy, and Jenny, you're destined to work for the rest of your life. What? I could understand her old-fashioned views on a wife's role. It was probably how things were in her younger days. But why was she suddenly belittling me? It made no sense. As I stood there confused, she snorted. "Yesterday, I visited your parents." I was shocked. She continued, looking down on me. "Your parents' house is falling apart. It looks like a haunted house." Yes, my parents' house is old. It's a traditional house. But it's well maintained despite its age. It irritated me that she couldn't see the difference. "I met your parents, too. They came back from the fields in a dirty truck, wearing grimy clothes. It gives me the creeps just thinking about it." She dramatically hugged herself and shivered. "And on the way back, they gave me fresh onions as a souvenir. They were warm from being outside, and they smelled sweaty and dirty. Can you believe they thought onions would make a good gift when you can buy them at the store for $1? Up until now, my mother-in-law disapproved of my working, because she thought it neglected the household. It was painful enough to have her constantly telling me to support Ryan and have children soon, but now she was bad-mouthing my parents too. Incidentally, my mother-in-law had shown up empty-handed. "But after meeting your parents, I understand why you work all the time. Poor farmers have no choice but to work hard. You might work in an office, but it's the same thing. It's ingrained in your DNA or something, to work like a dog." She said this absurdly. She spread her arms wide, looking like a scientist making a groundbreaking discovery. I couldn't follow her logic at all. Since that day, her criticism towards me intensified. "Oh dear. There's dust on the TV. Are you blind or just stupid? Poor Ryan, having to live in such a dusty place. I had just mopped this morning. There wasn't any dust, and I thought it was her eyesight that was the problem. Oh no. The laundry is folded so sloppily. Is this how you do it at your parents' house? Poor Ryan, having to wear wrinkled clothes. She lightly kicked the folded laundry before saying this. Of course, it would look messy. As soon as I started to say, but, she glared at me. Then the lecture about what I was doing wrong would begin. I was made to sit on the floor and listen to her rants. If I didn't talk back, it would end in about 15 minutes, so I gradually learned to stay silent. These lectures always happened when Ryan wasn't home. In front of him, she acted like a sweet, loving mom. At first, I tried to tell Ryan about her behavior, but I eventually gave up. Mom says she never said those things. She actually thinks you have a strong personality and it's hard to get along with you. Maybe you should stop ignoring her advice. Instead of bad-mouthing her, why don't you focus on doing the housework properly? You probably just hate her. Even if it was true, to Ryan, it sounded like I was just criticizing his mother. He would get tired of hearing it. So, as long as I endure it, there would be peace at home. All I had to do was quietly listen to my mother-in-law's lectures. It was simple. But one day, something inside me snapped. Ew. This stew tastes awful. Redo it. My mother-in-law suddenly stuck her spoon into the stew I was cooking. After tasting it, she dumped the entire pot into the sink without hesitation. What? Her smirk looked distorted to me. She casually picked a carrot out of the sink. Make sure to drain the liquid before throwing it away. We don't want smelly trash. I'm such a kind mother-in-law for helping you, right? That carrot was a gift from my actual mother. Sometimes, she sends me vegetables from her garden. She used to deliver them directly but switched to mailing them out of consideration for my mother-in-law. The carrots, potatoes, and onions my parents grew were now scattered in the sink. These were precious vegetables. They weren't garbage. My breathing grew heavy. I can't take this anymore. It was then that I realized how abnormal my situation was. That night, I timidly mentioned divorce, and surprisingly, both my mother-in-law and Ryan readily agreed. Oh, divorce? Sure, go ahead. I was wondering how long that jinx would stay here. Ryan, don't be so harsh. Calling Jenny a jinx to her face. Apparently, they had been calling me a jinx. Mom, you're too kind. That's why Jenny got spoiled and can't do any cleaning or cooking properly. Get out now, you useless person. Okay. My hands were trembling slightly. I went to the bedroom and called my mother to come pick me up. My parents' house was the only place I could go. I saw this coming. Understanding the situation, my mom said she would come right away. I saw this coming. I'm ready. Her cryptic words made me tilt my head in confusion. Unaware that my parents had a plan, I packed my things and waited for her to arrive. It seems they came in quite a hurry. My parents arrived at our house in about 30 minutes. Sorry for the late call. They suddenly decided to get a divorce, and I know farmers have to get up early. My mother responded to my mother-in-law's snide remarks with a smile. Don't worry about it. We're here to pick up our precious daughter. It seems our families were mismatched. Thank you for taking care of our daughter for this short time. My mom pulled out a divorce form from her bag and handed it to Ryan. So this is what she meant by being ready. She must have sensed my marriage was ending from our occasional phone calls. Ryan was momentarily surprised but filled it out without hesitation. Now we're strangers. He waved the divorce paper in front of me. My mother took it from him as I looked away. I'll handle the filing. Sure, go ahead. It's a relief we're divorcing before having kids. We don't want children with poor blood. Maybe because my parents were humble, my mother-in-law and Ryan acted arrogantly. I swallowed my frustration and clenched my fists. Now that the divorce is final, I couldn't care less about them. My parents, who came to pick me up, must be angry too, but they're maintaining their composure. I don't want to start an unnecessary fight by letting my emotions explode. Despite the tension, our farewell was surprisingly cordial. I'll miss those cheap meals loaded with veggies, Jenny. Poor Ryan. Let's have steak at a restaurant tomorrow. My mother-in-law and Ryan even walked us to the entrance of the apartment building. Their actions seemed polite, but their farewell remarks were quite something. Well then, excuse us, my father said, while my mother-in-law looked around. Where did you park that wonderful pickup truck? I see, they wanted to make fun of us until the very end. They followed us to see the pathetic sight of us leaving in a muddy pickup truck. The smug smiles on their faces were twisted. I was horrified at the realization that I had been living with such ugly people. Despite the obvious mockery, my parents kept their gentle smiles. I didn't want to start a fight, but I felt humiliated. I bit my lip and looked down. Then my mother took my hand. For some reason, she gave me a radiant smile. It was as if she was assuring me that everything would be all right. I looked at my father, feeling curious. He also nodded with a gentle expression. Oh, the car should be here any minute. My father's voice was drowned out by the sound of an engine. My mother-in-law and Ryan turned instinctively towards the sound. A sports car is racing towards us from the distance. Cutting through the darkness of the night, its body shines brightly. The car stopped right in front of us. Overwhelmed by the sheer luxury and presence of the car, my mother-in-law took a few steps back. Wow, unbelievable. I never thought I'd see such an amazing car up close. Ryan, on the other hand, was drawn to the car like a magnet. He reached out to touch it, but my father held him back. My father didn't want him to touch the car with his dirty hands. Ryan looked annoyed at being stopped. Just then, the driver's door opened. Well, look who's all here. Stepping out of the driver's seat was my grandfather. What? From the sleek sports car emerged my decidedly rustic-looking grandfather. It was so beyond Ryan's expectations that he stood there with his mouth open. Thank you for taking care of my granddaughter. I'm here to pick up my family. My parents put my luggage in the back seat and got in. My grandfather, who opened the passenger door for me, smiled, and then I realized, so that's what it is. I quickly composed my surprised expression and put on a confident smile. Thank you, Grandpa. I sat in the passenger seat, fastened my seatbelt, and opened the window. Playing the role of a princess, I raised my right hand gracefully. Goodbye. Farewell. Since they always look down on me and my family as poor farmers, they decided to arrive in a sports car to make a statement. Even Ryan, who understood the value, and my mother-in-law, who had no interest in cars, were intimidated by the sheer luxury. It was a subtle revenge by my parents and grandfather. What? Grandfather stepped on the accelerator. My mother-in-law and Ryan, standing there with stupid expressions, quickly vanished from sight. I had always believed that since I got married and became independent, I couldn't ask my parents for help. But my family has always been on my side. I finally relaxed. Grandpa, Dad, Mom, thank you. Did you see their shocked faces? It felt so good. My parents smirked knowingly. Yes, but this is just the beginning. Ha! I had become so used to being dictated by my mother-in-law that my emotions had dulled. But my parents were still burning with anger on my behalf. Those two won't stay quiet. They'll definitely come back to cause trouble. I swallowed hard. And as my mother predicted, the next day, mother-in-law and Ryan showed up at our house. They rang the intercom repeatedly and banged on the door when there was no response. Fearing they'd break down the door, I reluctantly addressed them. Can I help you? They jumped and turned around. They eyed me from head to toe. Seeing I was just the same as usual, they smirked. See, I told you, yesterday was just a bluff. Yeah. That car was probably a rental. Must have cost a fortune just to rent it for a few hours. Such a waste of money. A pickup truck and a rundown house suit farmers better anyway. They were clearly bitter about last night. They came all the way here to insult me more. My parents had anticipated this day and prepared accordingly. They didn't want their carefully laid plans to go to waste just because mother-in-law and Ryan backed down at the sight of one sports car. When I left our apartment, I never wanted to see Ryan's face again. But now, seeing them come as expected made my heart race. Oh, this house is indeed old. We didn't mind, but it hurt a bit to hear you call it a dump. I lowered my eyebrows and fiddled with my fingers, pretending to lack confidence. Seeing me so humble, mother-in-law got even more arrogant. Oh, I'm sorry. I just told the truth. I don't understand farmers' feelings. The house and land are big, but why live in such a shabby house? I'd rather live in a small but nice new house. Poor farmers have a different sense of value from the rest of the world. I nodded slightly, absorbing her spiteful remarks. Yes. It's the house I grew up in, so it never felt strange to me. But now that you mention it, the steps everywhere and the drafts in winter do bother me. We don't use the AC in summer because it's breezy. But it worries me since my parents and grandfather are elderly. Since I was being so honest, mother-in-law blushed with satisfaction. That's right. An old house can be deadly for the elderly. The real summer heat is coming soon. Nowadays, living without AC is unthinkable. I hope they make it to autumn. Oh, but then there's winter and the risk of a heart attack in the bath, right? Poor farmers. Always on the edge of the grave. Mother-in-law clutched her chest and pretended to be in pain. Ryan laughed as she dramatically rolled her eyes. Thank you for your concern, I said, not letting their vulgar laughter get to me. But you don't need to worry anymore. While speaking, I spun around. I pointed to the house across the narrow street with my right hand. That's our new home. What? Ryan and his mother stood staring at a brand new, modern house. It was a large, white house that looked out of place in the somewhat rural neighborhood of traditional homes. A spacious lawn was adorned with seasonal flowers swaying in the breeze. A mansion. Yes, in one word, mansion, fits perfectly. Just then, the front door of the mansion opened. My parents emerged. What? How? My mother-in-law clutched the front of her shirt tightly. It wasn't just bad acting, she genuinely seemed to be in pain. I told you, this is our new home. What? My parents, dressed in casual clothes, waved at us with smiles. As I crossed the street towards them, my mother-in-law and Ryan followed, staggering like zombies. Is this another show? Did you rent someone else's house? Ryan muttered nervously. My parents smiled even more broadly. Rent? This is our new home. My mother explained bashfully. Jenny told us that our old house made you uncomfortable. We apologize for that. She apologized deeply. But her face couldn't hide her smile. It was sad to let go of our longtime home, but living in a new house is so comfortable. No steps to trip on, and the robot vacuum works wonders. We have a central air conditioning that keeps the house comfortable all year. My husband even insisted on adding a sauna. A sauna at home is amazing. And you, dear, you built a sunroom for drying the laundry. After all, you use the dryer. So it's become a great place for coffee with the neighbors. My parents chatted affectionately, leaving my mother-in-law and Ryan stunned. Ah, are you really living here? My mother-in-law interrupted their conversation. Not remodeling nor rebuilding, but another house on another lot? This isn't normal. It must be a lie. She screamed hysterically. The smiles disappeared from my parents' faces. My mother looked into my mother-in-law's panicked face and spoke calmly. Deciding Jenny was poor and looking down on her, just because our old house was old is what's not normal. I never thought we'd be judged by the appearance of our house. We're not children. But since Jenny was enduring and continuing her marriage, we didn't interfere. We've been preparing to help her whenever she might need it. My mother smiled sharply. Do you still think we're poor farmers after seeing this house? Since the day my mother-in-law showed up at our house unannounced, my parents had harbored a strong distrust and anger towards her. They were also angry at Ryan for not defending me. My compliance and lack of emotions had given Ryan a sense of superiority, making him feel good. I originally thought he was a decent person, but he changed after being influenced by my mother-in-law. Or maybe he was always like this from the beginning. But a marriage where only one person suffers can't last. One day it would end. My parents had been planning to humiliate mother-in-law and Ryan when I finally returned. This new house was part of that plan. They wanted to see mother-in-law and Ryan's shock and frustration at seeing our once mocked old house turned into something grand. As planned, mother-in-law was now on the verge of tears, biting her lower lip. But just a few months ago, you were in that old house, wearing dirty clothes, growing cheap vegetables. She muttered, trembling. Her strength gave out, and she leaned against Ryan's shoulder. You tricked me. Living in an old house while having money is deceitful. Despite leaning on Ryan's shoulder, my mother-in-law continued to rant. Then the front door behind my parents opened. All this noise and calling our home shabby, how rude. My grandfather emerged from the house. Calling it shabby is an insult. I have fond memories of that house. I built it when my son was little. Even if it was a bit inconvenient. It was our beloved home. But I can't allow my granddaughter to be hurt because of it. Straightening his previously hunched back, my grandfather declared. For my dear granddaughter, I'll build 1 or 2 houses so grand that no one can say a word against them. And, well, I have to admit, living in this new house is so comfortable that I've come to love it too. His powerful stance softened into a grin. My parents' expressions relaxed as my father gave Grandpa a playful nudge. Even Dad got himself a soundproof karaoke room. Indeed. Karaoke is the secret to a long life. Despite everything, my whole family was thrilled about the new house. The cheerful atmosphere among my family contrasted sharply with the gloomy aura surrounding my mother-in-law and Ryan. No, it can't be. This has to be a lie. My mother-in-law clutched her head in confusion. I get it, you took out a loan. Anyone can build a house if they borrow money. No big deal, moving from an old house doesn't make you special. My mother-in-law was like a weed that wouldn't be crushed no matter how much she was stepped on. She couldn't stand not belittling us somehow. My parents and grandfather exchanged glances. Guess we'll have to show you something special. Grandfather sighed, but a smile played on his lips. He really wanted to show off. He pressed a button on the electronic key, and the large garage door in the yard began to slowly rise. What? When the door fully opened, it revealed a row of luxury cars. That car from yesterday. And all these sports cars. How is this possible? Ryan stumbled towards the garage. Even someone not into cars would be impressed by the gleaming, elegant curves. Wow, this is incredible. The luxury cars shimmered in the sunlight. Ryan, who had tried to touch one the night before, now didn't dare lay a finger on them. Impressive, right? This is my collection. Grandfather puffed out his chest proudly. These are a collection and will not be ridden around town. The usual vehicles are a small truck and a compact car. Ryan whispered nervously to my stunned mother-in-law. Each of these cars is worth as much as a house. Those flimsy-looking cars? They're incredibly high-end. This can't be. With a grand new house and a collection of luxury cars. There was no way to label us as poor farmers. My mother-in-law glared at the pickup truck beside the luxury cars, biting her lip. Hiding luxury cars is unfair. She stomped her feet like a child throwing a tantrum, flailing her arms and hitting Ryan, who grabbed her arm in pain. That hurts. Stop it. But she never told us her family was rich. It's unfair. We were deceived. It's rare for someone to introduce themselves with, "My family is wealthy." While we never struggled financially, I was given an appropriate allowance for my age as a child. While my family occasionally indulged in hobbies like cars or golf, we never lived extravagantly. That's why I never felt the need to flaunt our wealth. Straightening her posture, my mother rebuked my mother-in-law. You judged us solely on appearances and looked down on us. Fortunately, we have enough income to live comfortably and build several houses. No way. Are you saying onions are profitable? My mother-in-law clenched her fists in frustration. Oh. Those onions are just for home use. What? Our family business is a tourist farm. Our main attraction is strawberry picking, with seasonal vegetable harvesting experiences. Recently, we opened a large strawberry picking facility at a roadside station. Business has been good. Plus, our income isn't just from farming. We own land passed down through generations. This new house was built on land we already owned. My parents mainly left the business management to others and leisurely grew vegetables for home use. It's a plot too large to call a home garden, where they enjoy growing vegetables as a hobby. Then why don't you spend your days shopping or traveling instead of growing vegetables? Are you so ingrained with a poor mindset that you can't live without working? Realizing the truth sent my mother-in-law into a frenzy. How my parents chose to spend their retirement was their own business. The sauna we installed at home, the car collection, and growing vegetables. It's all because we enjoy it. Is there something wrong with enjoying what we love? Steam seemed to be coming out of my mother-in-law's head. Her face turned red like an enraged baboon, and she was breathing heavily. And you? She suddenly pointed at me. Even though your family is wealthy, you kept working hard, making it confusing. As punishment for deceiving us, you should pay us compensation. What? If anyone deserves compensation, it's me. Your heartless treatment is the reason for our divorce. How dare you act high and mighty just because you're rich? The conversation wasn't making any sense. Ryan, seeing this, tried to calm her down. Mom, calm down. You're embarrassing us. You're the one who misjudged and looked down on Jenny. You're the reason our relationship fell apart. Apologize to Jenny. No. I was only trying to guide her to be a suitable wife for you. I'm not wrong. My mother-in-law became distraught when her beloved son turned against her. She probably disliked me from the beginning as the woman who took her son away. Ryan. Desperate not to lose her son, my mother-in-law clung to Ryan. Ryan pushed her away forcefully. She fell, her face contorting with pain and loss. Her outstretched hand was kicked away by Ryan. I felt a surge of contempt for Ryan's coldness. But then he turned to me with a gentle smile. Jenny, Mom was wrong. She kept bad-mouthing you, and I was brainwashed. I'm sorry. I've woken up. Even though he ignored his crying mother, his soft smile towards me felt insincere. He offered his hand, but I had no intention of taking it. It's too late to change now. But Mom's the one at fault, not me. I never hurt you or said anything mean. It's true that Ryan never directly attacked me. However, he never helped either. Despite knowing how his mother tormented me, he ignored it. Whether he found it bothersome to intervene or felt superior seeing me suffer, he was complicit. I'm leaving, Mom. Let's start over. His eyes sparkled with sincerity. The romantic moment was shattered by my mother-in-law's shrill scream. Ryan. You're choosing her over your mother? Using the last of her strength, she lunged at Ryan, who brushed her off. Of course. A mother who bullies my wife is worthless. My mother-in-law lay on the ground, crying and screaming without any shame. Ryan, trying to regain his composure, turned back to me. He looked at me with such seriousness that I felt compelled to respond just as earnestly. Then I'll give up my family's wealth and restart with you. What? Ryan's once sparkling eyes instantly clouded over. So, you think there's no point in starting over with me if I don't have money? I had braced myself for the possibility that he might want to be with me again, upon learning about my family's wealth. Ignoring me under his mother's influence and now casting her aside for money. Ryan was unbelievably selfish. You love the money, not me. I can't get back with someone who doesn't love me. This is truly goodbye. No, it's not about the money. Jenny, let's talk this over with your parents too. Marriage and finances are important. Ryan clung to my arm, but my father silently pulled him away. He pushed Ryan back towards his mother. After showing your true colors, you still talk about getting back? We won't let our daughter be with a man only interested in money. Stay away from my daughter. Ryan was cut off sharply, and he started to cry. If you harm our granddaughter again, we'll take whatever measures necessary to deal with you. We've got the resources, so be prepared. My grandfather waved with a smile, despite his words. It was oddly terrifying. Remember this. Ryan bit his lip, holding back tears, and muttered a weak threat. He slinked away without making a sound. My mother-in-law, who had been crying loudly, quieted down once she noticed Ryan was gone and then quietly left our property. It seemed they only put on a brave front when they thought they had the upper hand. What a sight. They can only be tough with the weak. I shared a bitter laugh with my parents and grandfather. After divorcing Ryan and reverting to my maiden name, I provided minimal explanation at work. I only told a few close colleagues the truth, but the rumor spread quickly. Ryan felt ostracized and quit his job. Just as I was feeling at peace both at home and work, an incident occurred. One late night, our home security system was triggered. The security company was alerted immediately. Police cars soon arrived, creating a commotion. Despite being in a rural neighborhood, a large crowd gathered. In front of everyone, 2 people were apprehended in our yard. Seeing the 2 figures dressed in black, I gasped. Up close, my suspicions were confirmed. It was indeed my mother-in-law and Ryan. Let go. I'm not the bad one. Respect your elders. My mother-in-law, struggling violently, was pinned to the ground. It's a misunderstanding. This is a family member's house, we're not thieves. Ryan, trying to appear rational, attempted to convince the police. But they were no longer family. They're complete strangers. They were trying to break into the garage, which contains valuable cars. They are definitely thieves. We were standing in front of the garage. The shutter was scratched up, and there were crowbars and sickles scattered nearby. We're not thieves. I just came to talk to my beloved wife after a misunderstanding led to our separation. Ryan is surprisingly a good actor. He shouted with tears welling up in the corners of his eyes. However, Ryan's desperate plea was undermined by the large hammer in his hand. With a hammer in one hand, his idea of a discussion sounded more like a prelude to something far worse than theft. Moreover, dressed entirely in black, he looks too suspicious to elicit sympathy from the police or onlookers. Of course, the police didn't buy their story about being relatives or just wanting to talk, and my mother-in-law and Ryan were taken away. Later, the police confirmed they had indeed broken in with the intention of stealing the cars. My mother-in-law, driven by spite, and Ryan, having quit his job and needing money, had fallen to a new low. I thought they couldn't sink any lower. Please tell them we won't settle out of court. Let the police deal with their twisted characters. Meanwhile, I moved back to the new family home. The living room had a projector installed for me, making it clear how much love and thought my family had put into our home. Living in a dream house, my life was still grounded in reality. I continued working, and my parents diligently tended to the farm. Hey, how about we go on a trip sometime? I'll drive. Grateful for all they'd done for me, I suggested a trip for my parents and grandfather. On the day of the trip, the 4 of us squeezed into a small car. It was cramped, but the closeness made me feel warm and comforted by my family.